Since the rumor mill started, by HBO producing multiple spin-offs, fans have been hoping and speculating that Robert's Rebellion could make it to screen one day. Hate to be the one to deliver the news to some of you, but that'll never happen. Words from the author himself. George Martin came out and said everything you would want to know about this eventful period of the lore will be in the upcoming books. Not the most solid reasoning, cause isn't Game of Thrones, House of Dragon, and even A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms just adaptations of his writing? But I think I see where he's coming from. Some fans want everything revealed, mysteries and all that went down during that 2 to 3 year span. And that would spoil things he had set up for decades in the book series. Martin knows how to leave his readers hanging with all his cliffhangers and mysteries, and there's a lot behind Robert's Rebellion. Jon Snow being revealed to be the child of Rhaegar Targaryen and Lyanna Stark in Game of Thrones instead of a bastard by Ned is just the tip of the iceberg. That was always what the books hinted at anyways. A shocking twist would have been any other revelation. The real intrigue comes from Rhaegar's motivations behind leaving his wife and children to run away with Lyanna. Ned's little sister was the wild she-wolf of the family. That all fit her character perfectly to be this reckless, but not the prince. He was everything his crazy-ass father wasn't. And Rhaegar disappeared at the height of the Mad King's insanity, running off with a noble lady of one of the most powerful families while not being capable of even loving others. There has been more than a few hints dropped for us though. Rhaegar seemed to be completely consumed by a very dark and heavy prophecy. He found a scroll one day when he used to spend all his time reading that convinced him he needed to be a warrior, and so he did it with absolute proficiency. Daenerys Targaryen also has a vision of him winking at the promised prince prophecy. Did he know a rebellion was inevitable with the king being so batshit? No. He expected to win the rebellion and make changes for the better, but never lived past Robert's raging warhammer. Wanting to have 3 children fits the Targaryen's prophecy of the dragon having 3 heads. But why did he have to make a baby with Lyanna, who was promised to Robert Baratheon, and in the scandalous fashion that they did it? He was the famous, beloved prince who could have had anyone he chose. Why start a war? We might be misled of when Rhaegar first met Lyanna during that tourney of Harrenhal. Before Rhaegar was the victor of the biggest joust in the story, another knight was on everyone's mind. A mystery knight who hid their identity. The Reed kids tell this tale to Bran Stark, who was shocked that his father never talked about it. But a mystery knight fought for justice in the Howland Reed bullying situation. And that brings us to another big mystery character. Not the knight, that was clearly Lyanna Stark in full armor. Howland Reed is mysterious as hell. Preceding the tourney that drew in every major character in the story, he left his home to stay on the Isle of Faces, where there might be some of the last children of the forest, or greenseers in the Seven Kingdoms. The island gets its name from all the carved weirwood trees, all being protected from invaders by an order called the Green Men. Crazy to me that Howland Reed never made a single appearance in the main Game of Thrones timeline, just that one flashback saving Ned's life. We know that Jojen is connected to Thread Raven, but Howland sent his only 2 children to serve Bran. Maybe Howland has a connection to Bloodraven as well. Bloodraven's perspective during Robert's Rebellion and the year prior would be so cool to get. He is half Targaryen, a bastard of a shitty past king. Maybe he would relate to Rhaegar. As for the Mystery Knight, called the Knight of the Laughing Tree for the weirwood tree painted on their shield, Rhaegar was tasked by the Mad King to unmask them. A character hiding their face terrified the paranoid Mad King. But we never know what came of this investigation. Rhaegar is amazingly competent, and held no real loyalty to his father. If Rhaegar found the Knight of the Laughing Tree, he would be met with the fiery Lyanna, and her story would be an honorable one. She was a hero defending the weak, entering a tourney as a woman and unhorsing 3 full-fledged knights just to prove a point that bullies suck. That would be a wild interaction. She could have impressed the prince to the point where he would want her to be his superhero baby mama, producing the last head of the dragon that would save the world. I do think Lyanna fell for Rhaegar, as did every lady in the tourney. She was caught crying when Rhaegar famously played his harp. Varys, a big mystery character of this era, brings up that the whole tourney at Harrenhal is a plot to gain support for a Rhaegar coup, removing the Mad King from power. Most of Varys' plots don't make clear sense and contradict themselves, but loyally serving the Mad King is the strangest thing he's ever done. Varys might be right about the Harrenhal scheme, because House Whent, who ruled Harrenhal, was in deep with Rhaegar. When Rhaegar disappears with Lyanna, he does so with half a dozen of his closest companions. One of them is Walter Whent, a knight of the Kingsguard. Varys was either purposely pitting the paranoid Mad King against his own heir, knowing full well the king's suspicions of Rhaegar were growing on the daily, or Varys was right about the tourney at Harrenhal plot and sided with the Mad King, a pretty big mystery. Varys' life was spared by the next king, Robert Baratheon, because Varys' network was just too useful at gathering intel to waste. Jaime Lannister was spared too, the newest member of the Mad King's Kingsguard. But that situation was a little different. The Lannisters may have joined the rebellion at the very last moment, but they fought for Robert. Rhaegar dying was the deciding factor for them. Plus, Jaime was the one to kill the Mad King. The Kingslayer is an open book during his chapters. There are no mysteries behind his choices. Even his strangest one is given an explanation. After Jaime kills the Mad King, for some reason he decides to sit on the Iron Throne and just soak in what he has done. He jokes, saying killing kings is tiresome work, but he just wasn't thinking straight. He was a teenager after all. It was a traumatic time, and he just sat in the only seat in the room. No ill intent, like Ned Stark likes to believe. The final mystery characters come out of Dorne, Oberyn Martell and Ashara Dayne. These two are head-scratchers, and we'll probably never get a real resolution on what really happened to Lady Ashara Dayne. We know a couple things about this character. She was Arthur Dayne's sister, the best fighter of this era, and lots of highborn men had the hots for her. The main ones being Barristan Selmy and Ned Stark. Arthur Dayne was one of the Kingsguard members who were close with Rhaegar, and was charged with defending Lyanna in the Tower of Joy. Everyone Rhaegar left behind to watch over Lyanna was killed by Ned Stark and company, including the lethal Arthur Dayne. Out of respect, Ned wanted to return his famous sword back to House Dayne. The books tell us, soon after Ned visits her family's castle, she jumps from a tower window, taking her own life. Some characters believe Ashara and Ned produced Jon Snow, and some say an unnamed bastard was taken from her, leading to a suicide. We know a little better, but overall, very little on mysterious Ashara Dayne. Something tells me she'll be left up to fan interpretation, especially after Martin decided to come out and say her body was never recovered, and not delving any deeper than that. He knew what he was doing with that line. If there's no body found in fictional works, they could pop up again anywhere. Oberyn Martell, one of the men who danced with her during their time at the tourney of Harrenhal, is strangely not mentioned during the 2-year rebellion. He spent a long time traveling and learning, but we know where he was right before the rebellion and right after, just not during. House Martell is at the heart of the rebellion, with Oberyn's sister being Rhaegar's princess. Very weird that Martin has left him out of all the action in one of the most pivotal parts of the story. His ruling brother, Prince Doran, could have kept him under wraps to not make the situation worse, but some answers here would be nice. Martin did say by the story's end, we would have them. Thanks for watching, guys.